Greetings and salutations to all of you lovely, fluffy, non-fluffy, equally lovely listeners out there. A choppy intro for you, because why not? How you doing? How's it going? How are you? How is your week? How was your weekend? I want to know. Tell me everything. Even though this conversation is definitely one-sided. But we won't go into that at the moment. If you want to, feel free to leave a comment, and I will read it in the next podcast if you like. I started this episode off a little weird, I'm going to be honest, because let's get that out of the way for the taping. And Archie is sitting on me, expecting me to make a grand announcement. He's looking at me like, are you going to say the thing? Are you going to say the thing? And there's nothing to say. That's extraordinary. Archie, hello. Can I help you? He's like in his attack stance right now. I'm not sure what's happening. It looks like he's looking around the room now like there's a ghost or there's somebody here. I don't know what he's so paranoid about. What do you see that I don't see? Oh, you know what? It's probably just Jeremy. So in case any of you don't know, I have a ghost in my house, and his name is Jeremy. Jeremy Hillary Boob, PhD. To any of you who can get that reference, you get a donut. Anyway, so yeah, that's Jeremy. He's probably just, harassing Archie at the moment. But nevertheless, here we are. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's no announcement. There's nothing extraordinary. Although I do want to talk about a couple things to start off, and that is that the previous episode, though many hot takes were had, was received pretty well. I heard some feedback from some of you, and it was very, very kind, actually. And I couldn't believe that you all were just, the things that I had heard were supportive and were helpful. So hope you enjoyed that. As always, as per usual, the previous episode will be linked in the description, and also will be linked at the end of this video on a card. So if you want to check that out, it is basically a 1-hour session of me explaining hot takes of things that I don't like. So, and the reason because I have gotten a bunch of comments over the years. People have asked me, you always seem like such a upfront, positive person, and you're always so, you have a lot of good things to say, and you don't seem to have a negative bone in your body. Somebody said that to me once. You don't seem to have a negative bone in your body. And let me tell you, honey, if you knew the things that went on in my brain, you would be thinking differently. But I think we all have some sense of neuroticism, of negativity that we tend to hide very well, and I'm definitely no exception to the rule. So if you want to listen to that episode, I go through a itemized list in no particular order of things that I just don't like or don't prefer or don't participate in. So listen at your own risk, I dare you. But speaking of videos, I also want to extend a wonderful, warm bout of gratitude to all of you who have shown so much love on the most recent main channel upload, the new ASMR that came out a few days ago. You all have been just so lovely with your likes and comments and just beautiful words, and like the amount of support and just, love that you've shown that video has been just staggering. Like, it was very well received, and I'm just I'm flattered. Well, flattered is the wrong word. I'm enamored by the lovely support and just everything that you've given to that most recent video. I just want you to know it means so much to me, and I thank you greatly for everything that you've done for that video. It's doing super well. So that being said, thank you. Just my sincerest and humblest thank you to all of you who enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it so much. It just, it means the world to me when I get to help people in that way. And I've gotten feedback on that, not just in comments, but personal messages and, on Twitch, on streams, and other, social media posts. People telling me that they fell asleep like instantly from that video. It helped them sleep. It helped them get to sleep, even though and somebody actually told me that they've been dealing with insomnia recently, and that video helped them get a good night's sleep. So, and it wasn't just about sleep. It was also about like good, a good feeling of love and just care and just overall companionship, I think is a good word for that. And again, I am just absolutely grateful for everything that you have all said and all the support you've shown it, and not just likes and comments, but just it really does something. And I can't say enough how special it really made me feel. So thank you for that. I really poured my soul out in that video, and let me tell you something about that video in particular. I have been wanting to film that video for 2 whole weeks. So the weeks leading up to filming that new ASMR, which by the way will also be in the description, and I'll put it in a little card here to like the right side of your screen, I believe. It took every bit of my being and motivation and discipline to film that video. And the reason I say that is because the 2 weeks leading up to it, I was feeling kind of down, depressed, like not only from like PCD, post-con depression from Megaplex, but I'd been dealing with a lot of like neuroticism. I've been dealing with some like anxiety and some stress, and like my brain was saying, like one side of my brain was saying, you got to film this video, and I wanted to, like, believe me, I wanted to film that video more than anything, but I just could not get myself to do it. And I knew that if I wasn't in the right mindset, so the other side of my brain was like telling me, I wasn't, well, try not to be dramatic here, but the other side of my brain was telling me like that it was just not being very kind to me. I'm not going to, do any negative self-talk here, but basically there's a lot of like downtrodden of my own, like through my own thoughts, and I was telling myself, or like my brain was telling me that I wasn't, measuring up, and that's all I'll really say about it. Was just like, just a lot of negativity was going on in the other side of my brain. And finally, I had to set a deadline. I was like, okay, I am going to make this video, and I have to before the weekend. Not that anything was going to happen, and I knew that, but like to be honest, I had to put an assignment on myself. I was like, look, you have to make this video. There is no question about it. And if you don't, you're going to regret it. And sure enough, one late night, sometime last week, I trudged myself to my closet, and I put on my fursuit. I set up my camera equipment. Not in that order, by the way. But you get it. And I said, okay, here we go. And I pressed record, and it just flowed. Like, the natural flow of that video was just powerful. I don't know where it came from. Like, that entire video, this new ASMR, the new Plushie ASMR, right? Just so we're on the same page. All of that was improvised. There was no script. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't have any like notion or idea of what I wanted to say or do in the video. It just came to me like snap. And I got in this headspace of just like, I am a plushie and I am going to help somebody today. And sure enough, that's what happened. So if you watch the video, you'll notice very closely, if you watch closely without falling asleep, by the way, if you watch closely, there are no cuts in the video. The only cut that exists is the transition between the plushie me coming to life and being an actual plushie, right? That's the only cut that's in the video. Everything else, the entire 30 minutes remaining of the video, is literally me just ad-libbing, like riffing, improvising, no cuts, no nothing, just boom, straight through. And that honestly is like super rewarding when I get to do something like that, because you'll notice, and some of you who have watched me for years, you've noticed over the years that there are some cuts in my ASMR. There are some bloopers that come to light, when filming, and naturally those things need to be cut out, right? Editing. But I was like, wow. When I got done with the video, turned off the camera, and I was like, wow, I just did that. Like, full on straight through, didn't stop. And it was like, whoa, what happened? How did I get that? Like, some creative flow just came out, and it just like took over, and I can't explain it. And just an added extra to all of you who are curious about the process of how I film ASMRs, I've noticed something that I do when I film ASMRs in particular. When I'm in a monologue, or I'm riffing, or I'm improvising, or whatever you want to call it, I will close my eyes in suit, and I will just talk. And what that does, and it just happens naturally, by the way, what that does when I close my eyes and I'm just like letting the creativity flow, whatever words come to mind, just say them, I'm in that headspace of just like fantasy. And like, I can't really explain, like, I don't know the words to explain it, but I'm in a place of just pure bliss of like, I am this character. I am this role. I'm whatever I'm doing for the video. And I just hone in and channel it and own it. And that happened. I kid you not. I started 5 minutes in the ASMR, and I had my eyes open, and I was like, trying to think of things to say. And then like my eyes just like closed, and then I just spoke. And my eyes were closed for the rest of the video. I kid you not. You can't tell because fursuit, but my eyes were closed for the biggest extent of that video. And when I opened my eyes, that was it. I was like, wow, that just came out of nowhere, right? And that there is, I think, a good lesson in how creativity works. Once you get in that zone, whether you're drawing or doing music, or maybe you're writing a speech or something like that, right? Inspiration can come in different forms for different people, and it amazes me every time how it works for some people. Like, I have a friend who does art, and they explain to me that sometimes it'll take them like days or even weeks to do one commission. And I wonder that, like, how do you channel that with like your commission list or your queue or whatever the case? And they always tell me, well, this one person always tells me the same thing. You just have to, or no, sorry, your inspiration finds you. You don't always find it. No matter how much art block you have, no matter how much you try to fight it, sometimes it just doesn't work. You can't force it. It has to find you. It comes to you. And that's very true. Like, and I can relate, even though mine is a video and it's an ASMR, no less. My creativity found me. The inspiration found me, and it just flowed like a river. And that's what I want to convey, especially in ASMR videos, is a sense of natural communication. That's why it's hard for me to do scripted videos, like, for example, a doctor video or a counseling video or whatever role I'm playing in my ASMR videos. But yeah, I struggle with the script because it just feels so unnatural to me. As a matter of fact, some of you, a lot of you actually don't know this, but there is a backlog of scrapped videos, like ASMR videos, that I have never released. Why? Because I didn't like how unnatural it felt. Like, I could release them and people would like them, sure, maybe, but I will not release them because it feels unnatural. It just doesn't feel real. Like, I'm there with a scrapped video, for example. I could be there editing, and I'm just like, I just don't feel it. This is just not right. So I will scrap it, and I will start over and do it again, or do something completely different. And that's just me. I'm not saying you need to scrap your ideas or your, your creations, but it's just like it. That's the reality for me. Is I just have to be like, okay, this is not going to work. Sometimes it's a hard decision. It feels, well, as a speechwriter that I follow once said, sometimes when you're writing, cutting out an entire paragraph or like, taking out a page or something like that can feel like taking off a limb. Like, it's painful. But in order for you to get to where you want to go, sometimes the sacrifices are made necessary. So that's just a little something I wanted to give you all. I didn't even plan to talk about this, but it's just something that I think is important to talk about, because those of you out there who are listening to this who may be struggling with creativity or struggling with creating things or making things, and you feel like just all this pressure to do and to make, and the pressure can be good in some sense, like as long as it doesn't overdraw you or override any other like needs that you have or burn you out, then it can be good. It can be good. Like I just told you, I had to put a deadline on myself in order to get me to make this video, and I'm glad I did. That there is an example of discipline, not necessarily motivation. I had to discipline myself and make this happen one way or another, right? So it's good to make those boundaries and draw those lines where you need to, but it's not good to obsess and to overextend yourself when you don't have to. Because at the end of the day, it's all in our minds. Sometimes we are our own worst enemies when it comes to creativity and when it comes to, seeking inspiration. We can absolutely like overdo it. And when those moments happen, it's good to just like stop, go on to something else, and come back later. Because that is what helps a lot of the time, is just taking a break. Even if you feel like you don't need it, it's good to take a break. And it's good to just reset, come back. And sometimes when you come back, a whole new thing may come to fruition. You just got to try it. Sorry, I had to pause there. I had to plug my phone in. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to share, is just that sort of creative process, if you will. So I hope that helped somebody out there listening to this. But anyway, moving on to something completely different. A couple of things that I want to talk about that I didn't get to in the last episode, because the last episode was kind of special. The last couple weeks have been interesting. I actually, the week before last weekend, I got to see Weird Al Yankovic live in my hometown. I'm not going to say exactly where, but yeah, he was live at a venue that I've been to many times. And I have to say, that was one of the funnest shows I've ever seen, ever. Yeah, Weird Al, for those of you who don't know, he's the guy who makes the parody songs, right? If you're younger, or if you're, maybe uncultured for whatever reason, not trying to say you are, just saying, if you don't know who he is, he made like Amish Paradise, he made White and Nerdy, he made plenty of others, like Word Crimes. That's another favorite. Yeah, Google any of these if you don't know who he is. That's Weird Al. Yeah, he put on quite a show, I have to say. My gosh, like he started off like guns blazing. He came out with like a sparkly jacket and his accordion, and he was just like, he was walking through the crowd. It was awesome. And like there he is, jumps on stage, and he's just going after it. Like, holy crap, this guy can put on a show, right? And I was rather impressed because Weird Al is, as a matter of fact, 65 years old, which, to put it in perspective, is retirement age in, well, it's generally retirement age, I have to say. But yeah, he was up there on that stage, and watching him like hop around and like doing like karate kicks like up in the air and like rolling around on stage, just for full effect. And for White and Nerdy, he came out like blazing on a Segway, right? Because that's the music video, right? But no, this dude was like rolling around on a Segway like a maniac. And dude's 65 years old and he's still got it. Like oh, my gosh, the amount of energy that guy has, even at his age, fantastic. And he looks great, by the way, for his age. And this guy is like, I swear, he is timeless in his music and his references, in his like showmanship, everything. Like, you should have seen it. The place was packed, by the way. I did not expect so many people to show up the way that they did, but they did. And oh man, like I'm so thankful. I have to give Blue a huge shout out for taking me there. That was really one of the best shows I've seen in a long time, and he surprised me by being taking me as his plus one for his birthday weekend. He didn't have to do that, but he did, and he got tickets for his birthday, and he chose me to go with him. So I'm forever grateful for that. Thank you, Blue, for even though it was your birthday, for being able to take me along and enjoy that with you. I had a great time with you, and I'm just so freaking thankful for, yeah, your consideration and your love, and just the fact that you chose me to go with you, and yeah, I'm happy to call you. This is why I'm happy to call you my best friend and my brother. So yeah, we went and saw Weird Al. He did everything, like I said, from Amish Paradise to The Saga Begins, and like costume changes throughout the show, and like the references throughout the show, and like he must have changed costumes like 10 times. Like he was fully immersed with us. Like he immersed us so deeply into these like different scenarios of his songs, and just yeah, like I give him a lot of props because man, he can put on a show. So yeah, getting out of there was just as tough, but yeah, that was a highlight from what weekend was that? Let's just see. This is the weekend or the week, I should say, of the wow. It's one of the final weeks of September. Jeez, it was the 13th of September is when that was. So, and I'm still reeling from it. Like I'm like playing Weird Al on repeat in my car when I'm driving, and yeah, I was a fan before, but I'm an even bigger fan now. The fact that I got to see him live was just fantastic. So yeah, that's something I won't soon forget. If any of you have not seen him live, I highly recommend it. It is one of the greatest shows you'll ever see. Other than that, I have a couple notes here I'm trying to keep up on. Yeah. So this past weekend, had a friend visit. That was a lot of fun. We went and saw a local orchestra in my town. It's the local college orchestra, and they were just rehearsing, but they did a lovely, lovely little show that we got to see. Um, and we watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. That movie was insane. Now, I know I'm a little late to the party in talking about this because the movie came out 3 years ago, but I had never seen it. I had never seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it had been recommended to me like forever in a day. People are like, "Oh my gosh, you got to see this movie. It's such a mind mess, but it's awesome." And I was like, "Okay, okay, I'll get to it." And then finally I did, and that was this past weekend. So, um, I'll tell you what prompted me to watch this movie was actually, believe it or not, a podcast. And you may be thinking, well, Samson, so many people have been telling you about this movie for many years. Why do you wait until now? And a podcast is what gets you to do it. Well, let me explain. So, the person on this podcast uh, was Jamie Lee Curtis, and I did not know that Jamie Lee Curtis was in this movie. And I, I'm a fan of Jamie Lee. She's awesome. She has expanded a career of decades, and not only that, but she's super smart. She's a big advocate for a lot of like LGBT and like political stuff, and like she's also a children's book author, which I did not know about her. So the podcast was super cool, and then they talked about everything everywhere all at once. Um, and I was like, "Oh, she's in this movie." I had no idea. So like now I have to see it, right? And let me just say, her role in that movie was so good. Like she played it so well. I was just, yeah, I was mesmerized by her, by her performance. Um, the movie itself didn't make sense at first. I was kind of like, okay, what's this all about? But then I kind of got it, over time. I was like, all right, well, it's kind of like an Inception type movie. There's a lot of weird stuff going on and layers of time. And I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, there's a lot to do with like the multiverse, which, a lot of us question. But yeah, once I started watching it and like getting the feel for it, I was like, oh, okay, this is what it is. So it was goofy. It was weird. It was scary at times. It was like super emotional at times and very heartfelt. So at the end of the movie is when the tears came. Like, I had no idea that this movie was ultimately about love. It's about love. And I don't mean like a romantic love. I mean like an unconditional love, that comes from people in your life. And that's kind of what I got from it. Now, you may have a different take. You may have taken something differently from the movie, but that's kind of what I got from it. Was it is a story about love, and it's a story about how, like, what it really truly means to be in others' lives, right? So take that with what you will. If you have not seen the movie, I highly recommend it. It's good. Like, it's got a lot of good morals and meaning. And we all were crying by the end of it. There was me, friendo, and another friend. We were all watching it together, and yeah, whew, man, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was just floored. Like, I did not expect it to be that good, but it was. And some of you may be asking, well, what's the podcast that you're referring to? Well, some of you who grew up like I did, it may or may not have been before or after your time. You may remember an individual who was part of our childhood that is still around and is now producing content today. Um, After many years of just taking time and like taking we'll say a very long sabbatical from the public eye, Steve Burns. Yeah, Steve from Blue's Clues. That Steve. He now has a new podcast. It's called Alive with Steve Burns. So far, he's had three guests, one of them being Jamie Lee Curtis. And the first one was actually, funny enough, a hospice nurse. I don't remember her name, but she made some like notoriety on TikTok and other social media platforms talking about what it's like to be a hospice nurse and like talking about the reality of death and living and all that. And it was a really interesting episode. That was the first one, and I was like, well, I love Blue's Clues. I've always loved Blue's Clues ever since I was yay big, and I love Steve. He's a really deep thinking individual and really soft spoken and heartfelt, and he has a lot of heart, right? And I knew from the get go that I would love this podcast, and I do. And he may only be like 3 episodes in, but dude is fantastic. Like, if anyone, and I don't say this lightly, if anybody on this planet deserves or should have a podcast, I believe it is Steve Burns. Because that guy, not only does he have like amazing credentials from like pop culture, media, and movies, TV shows, and of course Blue's Clues. You know, a well-loved series from our childhood, but the man has a lot of depth to him, and he's a thinker. He is someone who loves to learn about the world in different ways. He loves to take on new perspectives and new opinions, and he likes to hear what people have to say. He's a, like, first and foremost, what I've learned and what we learned as kids watching Blue's Clues, Steve is a listener, right? So you may remember one of the, I guess, tropes of Blue's Clues, one of the staples is Steve would like look at the camera as if you were there, and he would talk to you and ask you questions, and he would interact with you even though there was a screen between you two, between me and Steve, right? He still had that idea of personal connection. He still created that level of personal, just like rapport, as it were, even though it was a TV show, right? And he does the same thing on his podcast. He lets you know that you're there. He acknowledges you. He's there to like be with you in his presence and in your presence too. And you both are together. It's a very one-on-one, you know, a very good one-on-one, like, not session, but how do I say this? It's a deep, it's a deep conversation between just you two, right? And that's what I love about his podcast. That's what I've loved about Blue's Clues as a staple, right? And I have to be honest, like, watching this podcast, particularly watching it, not just listening to it, but watching it brought me back to a time where I honestly felt special because Steve was there, right? Again, even though there was a glass barrier between us, by the way, our TVs used to be glass. Just want to point that out there. Uh, it still brings me back to that feeling of feeling just having that special connection with somebody. And even though being a young age, kids notice that. Like, kids react especially to like eye contact, connection, personal like communication, one-on-ones, right? That's how a lot of kids need to develop. They need that personal connection, you know? And Steve was there to help us with that. And to this day, even though I'm, you know, nearing 30, it's so nice to still feel that connection with somebody, and someone as special as him who taught us that from a young age. So I highly recommend. As a matter of fact, I will also link the Jamie Lee Curtis episode in the description if you want to take a listen. It's fantastic. I highly recommend that episode. I learned a lot about her and about Steve, and just like, yeah, like the subjects that they tackle in that short amount of time. It really, yeah, it just, man, I can't speak highly enough of it. It's just, yeah, it hits on a number of marks that I forgot about, if I'm gonna be honest. So, yeah, just thought I'd bring that up and kind of give my take on it and how I'm feeling about it, because I'm just, again, if anybody deserves a podcast, it is Steve. Like, the man is a rock in a lot of ways. So, let's see. I have my notes still. Oh, okay. This is going to be a bit of a shorter episode than last week, but I do want to talk about something that has been on my mind, and I know that it's a subject that a lot of furries have made videos on in particular. But I want to get your take in particular. Like, I want to get your take on this subject, like, and what you think about it and how you counteract it. I want to bring up something called FOMO, aka fear of missing out. We as furries, especially when it comes to conventions, events, fursuiting, you name it, we are notorious for this feeling of missing out. And like, I'm going to make a video on this in the future, like the near future. But I'm curious on your take. Like, what do you do to counteract FOMO or fear of missing out? Is there anything that you do in particular that either distracts you or fulfills something that maybe was missing in that moment of missing out? Is there anything that any practices that you do to sort of get yourself through that feeling, or maybe it's the opposite? I'm curious about your take. Like, what do you think, and how do you counteract, and what is your thoughts on FOMO? Um, Real quick, again, I'll make a video of this in the future, but I just want to give like a few pointers that I've noticed, sort of a, a few helpful pointers for FOMO. One is stay off of social media as much as you can, because with the world being as it is, we have our news, we have our sources of information, and our feeds from our friends instant. Like, it is right there in front of us at a moment's notice, right? And it is there for us to see in a moment's notice as well. So, what I would encourage, that being like one of the biggest rubs of FOMO, is do your best, especially during like a convention or during an event or something like that that is, causing this fear of missing out. Take a break, push it away from you, and maybe find something else that will keep you busy, right? Um, for example, I saw some posts from AFC, which was this past weekend. For those of you who don't know, AFC is another furry con. That is literally the name of it, and it's held in California. I had some FOMO. I'm not gonna lie, I had some FOMO with missing out on AFC, and I knew that some of my friends were there, and some of them had asked me if I was going. As a matter of fact, one of my friends invited me to go to AFC, and I was just like, as much as I want to, I can't do it. Financially, I can't do it. I don't have the time for my work schedule, and it's not going to work. So I had to miss it. And yeah, like, not only that, but it was also like I had just come back from Megaplex, still kind of fresh off of that, and I'm like, do I really need another big con or a medium sized to large con to stimulate me even further than I already am? Because I am overextended socially. I need to pull it back a little bit, right? So in this case, for missing AFC, one of the things that I did was I had a friend over from out of state, and they stayed with me a couple days, and we got to have a good time. Like I mentioned, the orchestra, watching movies, and just hanging out in general. That really helped. It really helped to kind of invest into someone and something else other than my anxiety of missing out, right? Um, Now, I still feel, kind of bummed that I didn't go, but I have to say, the feeling would have been a lot worse had I just been sitting on social media all weekend and just like drinking it all in and then feeling empty, right? Because that's what it is. FOMO, in my opinion, is drinking and drinking and drinking in the information of whatever that event or thing is, and then still feeling empty afterwards. It's insatiable, right? And it will not fulfill. Like, it doesn't do anybody any good, and it can oftentimes be a driving factor to decisions. And we should not let FOMO direct our decisions, because when it does that, when FOMO is the sole proprietor or the sole like provider of our motivation or our intention to do something, it oftentimes it'll leave us feeling more empty or feeling unsatisfied in the end, and also more burnt out than we were before. Because when we take FOMO and make that our main drive to do something, it's for the wrong reasons. And we put expectations on how something is going to go or how something should go. And when it doesn't go that way during the event that you forced yourself to go to, essentially, then you feel like you failed, or you feel like it was not worth it, or you feel like you could have gotten more out of it, right? And I've caught myself many times at cons, even going to cons, even if FOMO wasn't like the direct like if FOMO wasn't like the direct result of my attending a convention, for example, there it still happens at conventions. Like I will still experience moments of FOMO during a convention. Like, oh my gosh, I should have gone and done this. I missed this panel. I should have gone to this opening or closing ceremonies, or I didn't get to see this friend, or I didn't fursuit enough. That's a big one. I didn't fursuit enough, right? And those things come from FOMO. They come from the fear of wishing you could do more or had done more. And I'm here to tell you right now, it doesn't have to be that way. The convention or the event or whatever you want to apply FOMO to, because I know all of us have experienced it at least one time in our lives, that, excuse me, what was I saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Um, when um, when you're at that event and you experience FOMO, like when that is the driving force or it becomes the driving force, and then we end up not having a good time, that is what we decided to put into it. I tell friends all the time, and it happens more often than I expected, but I tell friends all the time, people I know and viewers and so on, you get out of the furry convention or the event what you put into it. So, in other words, to say, just go about it, right? Don't worry so much about having to check all the boxes. And believe me, I am notorious for this, right? Having to check all the boxes and fulfill this, that, and the other. And did I see this friend? Did I fursuit enough? Did I go to this panel? Did I fill in the blank, right? It will leave you feeling probably more unaccomplished than you did when you started. And don't get me wrong, it's good to have a task list. I think it's good to have a schedule sometimes, but don't let that be the only driving force to you having a good time at this convention, right? It will be the death of you if you let it. Um, I have been to cons where I came home and I did not feel like I had a good time at all. And yeah, there were some good moments, but overall, I felt like I didn't have a good time. And that's because I expected way too much of myself. I expected way too much of others. And I expected too much of the con as a whole. And it didn't meet my so-called expectations because I didn't stop to look around and appreciate it for what it was. And that is totally on me. That was entirely on me that I chose basically to have a very specific time that I didn't get. So, one of the things I started doing that has actually been quite healthy, and it's a small thing, but it has worked so much wonder in my time at conventions. Yes, I am very much a what is called a marathon fursuiter, meaning, and that term was coined to me last year when I was at Anthrocon, right? No, actually, it was TFF this year. Somebody coined it to me. One of my roomies coined it to me. You're like a marathon suitor. You suit for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, because I love it, right? Like I want to do that, right? And by all means, if you are unable to do that, please, for the love of everything, do not push yourself, right? I don't recommend anybody to do this unless you have the practice and the stamina, okay? I've been shooting for a long time, so I've gotten to that point, but that's a yeah, that's a complete like side note. But anyway, I digress. Sometimes, even though I am a marathon suitor, even though I, try to do everything I can at a convention, see as many people as possible, blah blah blah, sometimes it's good to just get out of the fursuit, put on some regular clothes, maybe put on a tail, get my camera, Just go down to the con space and find a seat, sit down, and just watch the con walk by you. It's that simple. It can be that simple. And I've found in moments like that where I'm either just sitting quietly and just watching all the fursuiters walk by, watching, whatever craziness ensues, watching all the people go by, or like hearing a DJ or seeing a show or whatever, some of those moments are the most magical I've ever had. Even if it is as simple as just walking around with nothing on your mind except to be present. I've had to, excuse me, I've had to practice this to the point where even sometimes I will just put on like a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, put on a tail, grab my camera, and just walk around. Just walk. No destination, no end goal, no panels to get to, nobody to see, no fursuiting in that moment. I just maybe getting some videos and some pictures here and there of people and friends, and just taking the con in for what it is. Those moments are really magical. So even when you're at a convention, I highly, highly encourage you, let the con walk by you. You don't always have to walk by the con. Because, well, that's actually a good point. Here's a good little saying I just thought of. If you don't let the con walk by you, you will walk right by the con. And before you know it, it's over. So I think that's a good note to end. Hope that was encouraging for some of you, and I hope that, you got something out of that. But for now, I just want to say thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate your lovely ears taking in my voice, talking for the past 45 minutes. And just remember the Latin phrase, sic Parvis Magna. Remember, greatness from small beginnings. From the beginning of your time on this earth to now, you have been on a journey, and there has been greatness all around you. And even from the most humble origins and beginnings, there has been greatness. And that often turns into something even bigger than you could have ever imagined. Remember those who brought you up, and remember those who continue to stand by you today. Don't forget to tell them that you appreciate them and that you love them. And in the same way, always be you, be yourself. There has never been anyone like you in the past, no one like you who will be you in the future, and there's no one like you right now. And I tell you this, you and only you can do the things the way that you can, the way that you do best. Nobody else can, the way that you do it. No one can ever tell you who you can and can't be, or what you can and can't do. That is for you to decide, because you are created with a purpose. And for that, be unapologetically, unequivocally, and unwaveringly you. Because nobody else can do it. Only you. And as always, I just want to thank you again for this. The fact that I get to do this, not that I have to, but that I get to, is a gift every single day. And I will never, ever be taking this for granted. You all have changed my life, and you all have been the joy of my life. I would be nothing without you. I wouldn't be doing this without you. Trust me. And I have you to thank for it. So until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I shall catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye. Bye. Love you. Meow meow.